Have you reached your full capacity? Have you maximized your potential? Because the greatest loss of life is not death, but unrealized potential. And that is one of the most abundant things in our society, is unrealized potential. Like I always say, most people never peak. Most men never peak. And why is that? Unrealized potential. And the sad thing about unrealized potential is that we get so accustomed to being surrounded by things and people that have settled into a certain level of mediocrity, an acceptance of being less than and performing at less than capacity, that we don't really notice unrealized potential, unrealized capacity, unless it's tragic. You know, a lot of times only when it's tragic is when we notice it. You know, we notice unrealized potential, let's say when we see a gifted athlete that all of a sudden gets injured and loses his capacity to really bring that to bear, or dies early or something like that. But what's the difference between him and you? You get to live your whole life, but you never do anything with your potential. A lot of people live their entire lives, but live a life of mediocrity. There's no difference. As a matter of fact, your situation is actually more tragic because you actually have time. You actually have the capacity. You actually have the ability, and yet you do nothing with it. If we actually look at some people that are actually were actually great, right? We see unrealized potential. They never maximized. Why? Because just like a lot of people around them, they got used to settling for the good. Think about it. You know, I watched this video one time where Kobe Bryant was talking about Shaquille O'Neal. And he basically said the same thing. He said Shaquille O'Neal could have been so much greater had he actually tried. Think about it. As great and as dominant as Shaq was, he didn't really train that hard. Never really practiced his free throws. He never developed his shot. He basically spent his entire career relying on his physical dominance, and that was it. Now, it was enough to make him one of the greatest ever, but think about what would have happened had he actually maximized his potential, done everything that he could do to get the best out of what he had. A lot of people don't even realize that what they looked at was his mediocrity. And now his mediocrity was enough to be better than everyone else. But think about what would happen had he actually applied himself. Most of us walk around, we don't apply ourselves. Intelligent humans, they say, use what, 30% of their brain power. Your physicality. You know how many people quit the moment things get hard? I was just talking to somebody the other day about that physical capacity. So many people, the moment, even when they're working out, the moment things start to burn and get a little uncomfortable, what do? Oh, it hurts. Stop. You're actually at about 40% of your capacity at that point. Somebody like Muhammad Ali, what did he say? He said he did sit-ups until they started to hurt. Then he started counting. Was he really, really that great? Or was it that he didn't settle at the same point that most people settle for? He didn't get to the certain point of mediocrity where he was good enough and just stopped. He pushed farther. You know, I talk to people about their health. I talk to people about their bodies and Look at your body that you have. Have you considered how much of a physical marvel your body is? Have you maximized everything you could get out of your body? Something just that simple. Have you taken care of it? Have you cared for it? Have you cultivated it? I think is actually a shame is for a man to grow old and never having known what he was actually capable of. If only he would have tried. If only he would have maximized what he had. When we actually look at our lives, we find out that the greatest thing limiting us is us. Us and our gravitation towards the mediocre. Us and our settling for the good enough. Us and our wanting to fit in with the other people who are doing nothing. And now our society has gotten so good at it that they convince you that the people who are pushing you to do more are somehow hating on you. That you should accept your mediocrity because that's all you have to do to love yourself is to accept your less than effort. Settle in. Look around you. Be like everybody else. Why do you want to be like that? And you know what happens later on in life? Because it always happens. Some people realize it, a lot of people realize it when it's too late. They look back on their lives and they say, I could have. I should have. But yet I didn't. Now, one of the saddest narratives is that they spend their entire life blaming everyone else for why they didn't. Why they didn't get the most out of themselves. Why they did not maximize all the opportunities that they had. It's always someone else's fault. Because it makes us feel good. Like I said, the excuses we make are designed so it doesn't have to be our fault. Whose fault is it that you're in the position that you're in right now? That you have the health conditions that you have? That all the opportunities that you could have taken advantage of, you didn't. Let me tell you about capacity. Just a note. All right? And this is something that I have noticed myself with capacity. The moment you start to push your capacity, the moment you start to expand yourself, the moment you require more of yourself, the moment you hold yourself to a higher standard in life, your perspective changes in life. You know what else changes in life? The opportunities you have. Yeah. You spend your entire life playing small, all you're going to have are access to small opportunities. You're going to have access to everything else that the crowd has access to. All right. The moment you start to increase your capacity, your bandwidth, your perspective, the opportunities, your vision, your ideas, your possibilities, all change. And the more you do that, guess what happens? You start getting up there in rare air where you have access to opportunities that no one else has access to. Why? Because no one else is doing what you're doing. No one else is pushing themselves. No one else is trying to get the most out of themselves. You start to have, you evolve to a level, right, where the opportunities are just sitting there just for you. Why? Because you're the only one doing it. You're the only one doing it. We look at people who are successful, right, and we say they're lucky. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some things that some people seem as if they're almost designed for, you know. We talked about Shaq. Okay, yeah, I mean, guy 7'2", 300 pounds. There's certain things that he is uniquely designed to get that a lot of other people just are not. The opportunities are just there. All you have to do is take advantage of them. But what happened to most people? What happens to the Shaqs? He took advantage of it, but did he really maximize that opportunity? Simple answer. Even right now, I'm pretty sure he would tell you is no. He could have been greater. Of course he could have been. We all know that. He didn't. But that was good enough to be great. Now look at yourself. What opportunities could you have had? What opportunities can you still have that you're not going to have? Simply why? Because you've elected to be mediocre. You've elected to not maximize your opportunities. I can tell you for me as a person, right? Just a mere act of me saying to myself in my mid-40s that I was going to be the best me that I could be. I was going to get myself in the best physical shape. I was going to get myself in the best psychological and mental shape, because at that time I had so many other storms going on around me. That was the only thing that I could control. I could control my mind, I could control my capacity, and I could control my body. And I took control of it. And the moment I did, guess what happened? Opportunities abound. Doors opened. Things I never even thought about were possible became possible. Why? Because I made it possible. How did I make it possible? Because I raised my standard. I raised my level. What could be possible for you if you actually tried? If you actually maximize that capacity that you have? If you actually stop lying to yourself and telling yourself you're okay with your mediocrity, because you're not. You're not okay with your mediocrity. That's why you try to mask it. That's why you get so triggered every time somebody calls you out on it. If you thought you were actually doing your best, you would not get mad when somebody tells you you're not. You would not make all the excuses you make to continue to be mediocre. It wouldn't bother you so much. What bothers you is that you know it's true. You know you could be doing better. You know that you're capable of a lot more than what you've given. And yet, you allow the people around you in this world to lull you to sleep, to tell you it's okay. You know it's not. And at some point in time, sadly, you're going to wake up. But by that time, opportunities, capacity would have passed you by. And now you'll be stuck with regret. Okay? And we live in this world where we keep going out trying to look for someone to talk to. Talk to your damn self. You know you're not doing it. You don't need to talk to somebody for somebody to tell you what you're not doing. Maybe you might want to find out why. But the why part, I think, is just as easy as the realization that you're not. The reason why is because you just haven't. The reason why is because it's very, very comfortable to blame other people for what you're not doing for yourself, what you haven't done for yourself. Who is responsible? Who made you? Who is still making you eat horrible despite the fact that you know that you're killing yourself? You. Choices. Where you are right now is a result of choices that you have made. Where you will be in 5 years will be as a result of choices that you will make starting today. Now, yes, sometimes you might need some guidance, but you don't need nobody to help you make that decision that you need to do something. Accountability is the highest form of self-love. Discipline is the highest form of self-love. Telling oneself the truth is the highest form of self-love. And the most dangerous lie we tell are the ones we tell ourselves. Because after a while, we start to believe it. We settle into it, the delusion. We settle into the limitations that we've given ourselves. We tell ourselves, oh, I can't. You say that long enough, guess what? You start to believe it. And then you get mad at everyone who tells you you can do better. You should be doing better. You're hating on me. No, I'm just telling you what the obvious is. That is the greatest tragedy in life, is unrealized potential. Look at yourself. It's the best you can do. I always tell people, listen, you forget me. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, is this the best I can do? Is this all I got to offer? Is this my peak? Could I, should I, can I do more? And I think every single one of us, if we're being true and honest with ourselves, the answer will always be yes, I can do more. Now the question is, are you willing? Because it's real comfortable to sit back and say, nah, I'm good. It's real comfortable to blame everyone else. Yeah, well, once again, we live in a society now where telling the truth is somehow a sin. It's a crime. It's like the person yesterday who actually wanted to invoke the name of God to justify their mediocrity. When God gave you all the tools. He gave you the tools to liberate yourself. He gave you the tools to free yourself. He gave you the tools to be the best. And when you don't use it, then you want to say, God, please. God's looking at you like, what? You got it right there. What are you doing with it? Nothing. Nothing. We're always looking for something outside. You got everything right here. Sometimes, once again, we can get guidance because maybe we might not know how to use the tools, how to put them together. But if you actually sit back and look at yourself, you will find that you have engineered all your failures. The good thing is that you can engineer your successes. Okay? But yet we want to rely on things to just magically happen, All these things are things that are engineered to cripple you, waiting for somebody to do something for you. One of the worst things that can happen to a man is to give him something for free. You rather learn how to fish than have somebody come around every day and give you free fish. Be very mindful of somebody who comes around all the time and gives you free fish, free praise, pats on the back. What they're doing is they're helping you settle into mediocrity. What they're doing is they're trying to hide your capacity from yourself. Because a lot of times those very people, those very establishments, those very structures are afraid for you to realize what your real capacity is. Imagine if you actually understood what your capacity is, what you're capable of doing for yourself, but not only for yourself. When you actually become a unit of people working in a particular direction, I want you to know that. That's why they give you free food, free entertainment, cheap entertainment, things to distract you, as opposed to you actually settling and realizing what you're capable of doing. They give you things to believe in outside of yourself. Because God forbid you start to actually believe in your own capacity. And then you bring that to bear. Unstoppable. But as long as you believe in the greatness of things outside of you, you will never be able to realize the greatness inside of you. Are you maximizing your potential? And if you're not, start. Take a deep look inside yourself. Look at all the skills, the talents, the abilities you have. Look at all the things you could have done in your past that you didn't. Now look at all the things that you can still do. And you are not doing it. Start. Today is a perfect day to start. And where does it start? As a man thinketh, so shall he be. You think great, you become great. You think of yourself as a victim, you will always be a victim. You think of yourself as needing help, you will always need help. Something to think about. Thoughtful Thursday, right? Thank you guys for joining me. Fantastic Thursday once again. Like I said, conversations like this don't necessarily make me popular. But we're not here to be popular. We're here to empower the people that want to be empowered. And the people who are thin-skinned and the people who don't want to accept the facts will always cling to things outside of themselves, like government and religion and things that are designed to make you subservient slaves. But it's a choice. I hope you choose wisely. All right? I hope you choose wisely. There you go. Later.